687, SB 687. Thank you, Mr. Interim Chair, members. This also is a Senator Anderson bill, and this deals with the specific ability of and clarification in code that school officials are able to, if they wish, accept offers from community volunteers who will be mainly parents with projects outside the classroom. We know that there are some schools where parents are very, very involved, and we know this is a positive thing. Involvement sometimes is mainly through a PTA, but sometimes it's through parents volunteering to be active in field trips, be active to come in and volunteer in classrooms, all those sorts of things. And we know that that enhancement of school spirit and morale and parental involvement is a positive thing. Some school districts have a need that is addressed or there's an offer to address by parent volunteers, and sometimes those are maintenance and facility projects, but they can include all sorts of things. It can be cleaning graffiti off walls, fixing water fountains, and other time-sensitive projects that sometimes schools have a difficult time getting done on a timely basis. Parents do understand, and Senator Anderson understands, that school employees work very hard, and this bill would not, it specifically stresses that it would not replace any typically classified employees who might be doing this work. It would not be used as a reason not to fill vacant classified employee positions. And something I think that's important to point out, this would be handled by districts, and I think it's already in code, under supervision of typically school employees. Now, in the committee's analysis, it does discuss some incidents where there was maintenance work, and this is pretty sophisticated work, which went awry. I don't think it would be typical that volunteers are going to try to install air conditioning systems or electrical work. That's very sophisticated stuff. But I do think that when it involves fixing water fountains, graffiti, or whatever, any responsible school district is going to make sure that there are personnel there to supervise when what they need really is just hands. And graffiti would be a perfect example. I do have a witness here today. We'll see you from Ed Voice.
Madam Chair and Committee, Bill Lucia with Ed Voice. We support the bill. We've sent you a letter. We support the bill as is. We believe it can be responsibly implemented that way. We nevertheless agree that there are issues that have been raised in the staff analysis and concerns by the opposition. And if I could point you to page 3 of the bill at the top, it's a short bill in terms of what it does, lines 1 through 9, and the author presented number 1 point in line 3 is that it's permissive, so it's allowing local control and permissively providing for districts to make the choice of whether they believe it would be a good thing to do or not. We also would point out that with respect to the concern about the quality of the volunteerism or the supervision, that there could be an amendment to qualify the supervision to be competent, so that you don't have somebody supervising somebody with lawnmowers that's going to run over the sprinkler heads. That somebody that knows about the fact that the grass has to be cut at a certain height and make sure that the sprinkler heads don't get run over can certainly handle that if there's competent supervision. We also believe that there is a legitimate concern that is the current law dealt with, we believe, in subdivision B at the bottom of page 2, but could be further clarified by talking about unexpected or irregular maintenance to make sure that it's not at all substitutionary for permanent employment. And then finally on line 8, where there's talk about the cross-reference in the labor code dealing with the issue of workers' compensation or liability, we believe that a district governing board can, in fact, require in the policy that they make the determination for volunteers and donations to require a signing of a waiver of liability for those that wanted to do that. So there are ways to improve this. You all passed back in June, 7 months ago, the local accountability plan part of the LCFF. And the 8 state priorities start out with number 1 being, in part, the good repair, the maintenance and good repair of school facilities. And number 3 is parental involvement. For a lot of parents, providing services in terms of their time or donations is the gateway opportunity that schools can invite parents onto campus and participate. For many parents that aren't even high school graduates, volunteering is the way that they believe they can be part of the school community. So we encourage you to take a good idea and make it better and make it workable so that this tool can be available to districts. Thank you.
Thank you. Others in support of the bill? Opposition to the bill?
Madam Chairwoman and members, Jai Sukrasud with the California School Employees Association. We are in opposition to this bill, and we feel like this is a bill in search of a problem here. There are school volunteers now in our school districts. I know personally, in my family, we volunteer at our schools when we can. We believe that this law is totally unnecessary. This bill is unnecessary because CSEA has experience working with school districts and parents in doing things that enhance parent involvement. We agree that we want more parent involvement, but we don't think this is the right way to do it. You have heard that some subtle point to the fact that there have been situations where parents were not supervised or involved, playground sets have fallen apart and injured kids, and that in one situation they tried to replace a heating unit and then exposing asbestos in the wall. These are true stories that people may want to think that let's use volunteers wherever we can, but these are skilled work that ought to be done by skilled workers. You know, as a parent, I'm very keenly aware of what Senator Correa mentioned earlier today, that when you drop off your kid, you're handing over your most precious child, person, to other adults. And I shudder to think that there are volunteers who may or may not be there on a regular basis, who may or may not know the school safety plan, who may or may not know the basic things to do in the campus to ensure the safety of our children. For all those reasons, we urge you to oppose this bill.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Senators, Seth Bramble on behalf of the California Teachers Association, respectfully in opposition to Senate Bill 687. Certainly we support the use of volunteers. I taught for half a decade in San Jose. Not only did I have a teacher's assistant who would come in who was employed by the district, but we also had like a room mother who would come in and help out in the classroom. It's a very common practice. The senator referenced how often volunteers are used throughout the state of California in our schools. This particular proposal is totally unnecessary. It undermines the work of classified professionals who are doing the job. There's not a problem here. Volunteers are encouraged in our schools, and we appreciate all of the help that they provide us. We urge your no vote.
Madam Chair and members, Kendra Harris with the California Federation of Teachers. We are in strong opposition to this bill. Our classified employees are skilled and trained professionals. They know how to do their jobs. And we encourage you to vote no on this bill because the use of volunteers, even if it is just fixing a water fountain or painting, our classified employees should be the ones who do that work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, Mitch Seaman with the California Labor Federation, also in opposition to the bill. Just to reiterate some of the health and safety concerns that have been mentioned, with respect to things like exposure to asbestos and lead, even for the professionals involved in these industries, it can take years of training and a lot of work to make sure that these substances are handled safely, and it doesn't take much exposure to do some damage, and the damage can be pretty long-lasting, and this bill doesn't make any sort of account for that, so we would urge a no vote.
Thank you. Okay. Any others in opposition to the bill? Any comments from members? Senator Block?
Yeah, it's ironic that Senator Anderson's last bill that you presented was on school safety, and I fear this bill will make our schools less safe, actually in two ways. It's great when parents volunteer when they've been fully vetted by the school, but to have, this only restricts registered sex offenders, as I understand. No one else is restricted by this. Perhaps it's incumbent upon the school to do criminal background checks, to do other things, but it puts safety of kids in some jeopardy because you have less well-known people, less well-vetted people on school grounds. Also, because construction work will be done, as we've heard testimony, by people less qualified to do it. So I'm going to, while I encourage parents to work with our schools and help our schools, I have to vote against this bill.
Any other comments? Senator Torres.
Well, there's nothing currently in current law to prohibit school volunteers from coming in and volunteering in their school. In my district, we conduct community beautification projects at least once a year. Many of them are targeted towards our school, beautifying our school campuses. And they are done side by side with the classified employees. So there's always the crew of classified employees working with the parents to plant flowers, remove graffiti, to do small things that improve the quality of life of that student while they are there. So there's nothing prohibiting from doing that. I am concerned about infrastructure improvements. I don't know. I am very concerned that everybody's talking about a water fountain as if it was no big deal. But some of our water fountains here in the Capitol, have been infested with worms. So we can't, those things are issues that we need. I don't think that's funny. I mean, I think that these are serious issues. Our children deserve better than that. Asbestos, children would not know for 30 years that they might have gotten asbestosis due to some volunteer unknowingly cracking the wall and tapping into those types of contaminants. Lead poisoning. We tried to do a painting project that would include repainting some fences around the school, unknowingly that there was a lead. And thank goodness that the classified employees, the building trades that were assigned to work with the parents that day, understood what the volunteers did not understand. So I think this is a slippery slope. We're going down the wrong tube here with this proposal, and I'm not supporting it.
Okay, any other comments from members? I know, poor Mr. Weiland, the messenger here. This Saturday I'm going out and doing some landscaping at a particular elementary school, and I hope I don't get hit with a hoe. But I have been on volunteer projects where volunteers have come in, like for the day, and have painted a school for the day, and then cleaned up the yard and all this kind of stuff for a day. I do think there is much value. There is much value in bringing a community together, volunteers together to help schools out, and you understand the difference here between people who are experts in doing these trades as opposed to volunteers who may or may not have experience in this area. What I'd like to recommend to you, Senator Weiland, is that we hold the bill in committee and that we try to bridge this gap between what I term, because I do think we need to involve not only parents but the larger community in our schools, and with our labor force that we pay for their expertise. And so that's my recommendation, that we not take a vote on this today, and that we continue the conversation to try to bridge this gap. And some people feel like, well, that's not a problem. I don't know if it's a problem or not, but I don't want to have the problems of liability or somebody exposing chemicals, inadvertently, whatever the issues are, to further burden our school districts with more cost than benefits that volunteerism does do to help our schools and our community. So, that's my recommendation, that we just keep the bill and continue the conversation. And I'm sure Senator Anderson, when he gets well, that he'd be a vigorous advocate for increasing this volunteer effort here.
I haven't talked specifically to Senator Anderson about that, but I'll go ahead and accept the chair's recommendation. And I'll just make a couple of comments, because it may be possible to either improve this bill to make it more acceptable or to reintroduce it. I just like to address a couple of points. One is, it's true that the code doesn't address this or prohibit it now, but the point of this is to explicitly put it in the code. And secondly, I think I want to address what Senator Block and Senator Torres mentioned. I certainly don't mean to make light of a safety issue, and what's been talked about here are a very, very narrow set of construction issues, which this is certainly not intended to address or include. Whether it's plumbing, which is a more sophisticated trade, or electrical, or asbestos. I'm sure those incidents have happened. Should never have happened. I know Senator Anderson does, and I respect the people working for school districts who do that. When I was in business, we supplied materials and worked with a lot of those folks who worked at the schools. I think more typically it would be the sorts of projects that have been mentioned, painting and that sort of thing. And the painting example is a good one, and it's good also to talk about people beyond parents. When I was on our Chamber of Commerce board, we did that. But you always want to do it, and maybe that could be made more explicit, under the supervision of people who know what they're doing.
Correct.
So with that, I appreciate the committee's attention, and we'll go ahead and have it held in committee.
Thank you very much. Okay. With that, let's go back, and I think that's all the bills to be heard today. If you have not voted, please stay and make your voices heard.
So should we just go home?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to be able to remember that. Went back and revisited with my teachers that I met with over the weekend. They rather know sooner than later.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Item 1, SB 174. The motion is to pass to appropriations.
This was a consent item.
Yes. Correa? Aye. Correa, aye. Hancock? Aye. Hancock, aye. You have 9 votes. It's out.
That's 9 votes, and that is out. Item 2, SB 240, Yee. I think the chair voted aye.
The chair voted aye. The motion is to pass as amended to appropriations. Wyland?
Which one are we?
It's a vote by mail ballot.
And current is 5-1. No.
Wyland, no. Hancock?
Not voting committee on unanswered questions.
Torres? Yeah, 5-2.
5-2, that bill is out. Item 3, SB 428 Anderson, school safety.
The motion is to pass to appropriations. The vote is 4-1. Lou?
No.
Lou, no. Correa? Hancock? No. Hancock, no. Monty? Okay.
It failed. 4-3.
4-3, that bill has failed. Item 4, SB 559 Huff, chair voting aye.
Motion is to pass as amended to the Senate floor. Correa? Aye. Correa, aye. Hancock? No. Hancock, no. Wessel? Torres? It's 4-3.
It's 4-3, that bill has failed. And item 5, SB 596E.
The motion is to pass to health. Chair voting aye. Correa? Aye. Correa, aye. Hancock? Aye. Hancock, aye. Huff? You have 8 votes.
The bill has 8 votes. The bill is out. Item 6, SB 687, we're holding in committee. There's no time for reconsideration, is there? No. Okay, there's no time for reconsideration, so items, was it 2 and 3? What was it? 3 and 4? 3 and 4 have failed in committee. Thank you, members. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.